Right, given that my review of The Reality War ran a little long, I decided to stick my ranking for Series 15 or Season 2 in a separate video. This is just going to be my overall ranking of all of the episodes or all the stories of Series 15/Season 2 and where I personally would put them. All 7 stories. Now, I'm certain that I'm going to have stories on this list where I would put it very low, other people may put it much higher, or stories that I personally would rank quite high, others may rank lower. But if I have a particular story that you don't necessarily agree with the placing of, let me know down below in the comments where you'd put it. I'm interested. Let's have a lively discussion down there. Anyway, of the 7 stories, in 7th place for me, down the bottom, we've got episode 4, Lucky Day. For those who maybe don't remember or need a quick refresher, Lucky Day is the one where we're introduced to Jonah Hauer-King's Conrad Clark. We see him betray the trust of Millie Gibson's Ruby Sunday, and he ultimately tries to kind of discredit units and cause problems. Now, I know a lot of people would say that this would actually be one of the better episodes of Series 15. The only reason I put it so low is that I guess I kind of view this one in the same way that I viewed Dot and Bubble last year for Series 14. That episode, I have heard people say they did actually think was very good, and they did actually think because of the subject matter in it, it did actually work for them. The overall question I had, though, coming off it, kind of both times that I watched it, was, does my dislike of the characters by the end kind of overwhelm my overall enjoyment of this episode? And I personally have to say the same for Lucky Day. It's a question of, the episode is very good, but by the end, when I hate Conrad this much, does that affect my enjoyment? Kind of. Now, this may be a case where when I watch the episode again, kind of later on, knowing what happens, maybe I'll get more enjoyment out of it. But for now, Lucky Day does a lot in setting up the finale, but for me, at the moment, it's down at space number 7. Up 1 spot, we got the series opener, The Robot Revolution. Now, this isn't a bad episode by any means, I don't think. It's just everything else, for me, was better after this. And that doesn't make this episode bad. It just means it was a starting point. I mean, I really like the design of the robots. It had some funny moments. It did really well setting up the relationship between Ncuti Gatwa's Doctor and Varada Sethu's Belinda Chandra. It did explain Varada's previous appearance in Doctor Who last year in Boom. So, honestly, I don't mind it. It's just everything else kind of was a step up. So, that for me is why The Robot Revolution is at number 6. Coming in at the bottom of the top 5, we've got the finale episode, or finale story, Wish World and the Reality War, which of course is the kind of big return and the big plot of the Rani. Now, with the ending that the Reality War had, I do slightly wonder if I would have enjoyed this episode or this story more if I knew actively going into it. I actively knew that this was going to be Ncuti Gatwa's regeneration story. I feel like at the moment having watched it, I feel like this to me just seemed like the series finale, or season finale of this particular season. And if I'd have known that it was also going to be Ncuti Gatwa's last story, maybe I might have given it a little bit more slack. But here's the thing, I said in my review of The Reality War that for me, because I hadn't seen kind of any news stories beforehand saying Ncuti Gatwa was leaving, that maybe this would be a case where we get Billie Piper for the kind of Christmas special, and then maybe something happens and Ncuti Gatwa comes back as the Doctor. But honestly, I'm not sure of that viewpoint anymore. Having watched the kind of behind-the-scenes stuff and the Doctor Who Unleashed episode that came along with The Reality War, maybe this is just set to be one of our shortest-serving Doctors. I mean, I thought Ncuti Gatwa would go kind of for several years, but no, 2 years and he's done. And you know what? I think, in the grand scheme of things, he's done a really good job, and maybe he wants to leave now while he's going hot. So, for me, Wish World and Reality War, it's got some good story points, but at the same time, it's got some stuff that I was a bit kind of dodgy on, and I feel if I'd have known it was a regeneration story beforehand, I might be giving it a little bit more slack. But anyway, 1 spot up from there, we've got the Interstellar Song Contest. Now, I'll admit, this was one of 2 episodes that I was really looking forward to this series, and while I can't say I've watched a ton of stuff from the Eurovision Song Contest, I was just excited to see how this would be done, and it's camp. It's clearly a kind of filler episode for near the end of the series, but for me, it's still a lot of fun, and hey, if you can manage to slip Ryland Clark and Graham Norton into an episode, that's you've already got enough star power there. I do like the story, but it's a case of, can I really justify putting this any higher? With the other 3 stories above this one, not really. I mean, I do enjoy it. It is camp, it is fun, it is entertaining, but it's at number 4 spot, and I can't really push it any higher. But then that's just me. 1 spot up from the Interstellar Song Contest, I would put The Story and the Engine. That being the story where the Doctor and Belinda go to Nigeria, to Lagos, and the Doctor ends up getting trapped inside a barber's shop that's on the back of a giant robotic spider. I'll admit, I watched this episode first, and I actually really enjoyed it, and I do like how they kind of incorporated the African culture into this episode, as well as the fact that it's written by a man in your Ellams who has actually done a kind of story based around kind of African barbershops before, so he knew what he was doing with this, and that's what Russell T Davies asked him to do with it, and I think he did a really good job showing off the culture. I admit, when I watched this with somebody else, they said, I'm not entirely sure on the kind of God stuff, but at the same time, I felt this was a fun episode, and as I said, you could get really engrossed in the kind of culture of this particular world. Even just the idea of the barbershop and people telling stories. I feel you could have an entire episode set around that, and with the way he's written it, I think it would be really good. So yeah, for me, The Story and the Engine comes in at number 3. My number 2 spots, well, that for me would go to Lux. The episode where the Doctor and Belinda end up in Miami in the 1950s and discover a cartoon character come to life voiced by oh god, what's his name? Alan. So sorry, I'm just completely blanking on the name at the minute. So yeah, the kind of cartoon character of Mr. Ring-a-Ding, voiced by Alan, and to me, this was the other episode, aside from the Interstellar Song Contest, that I was really looking forward to. And to me, it didn't disappoint. It kind of showed the kind of style of the 50s. I kind of found the idea of the character really entertaining. And even the reveal that he is part of the Pantheon of Discord, kind of the God of Light. I think that, for me, that's what seals it. It's a lot of fun. It's very humorous. And I think it did a good job here. Alan Cumming, that's it. Sorry, Alan Cumming voiced Mr. Ring-a-Ding, and as I said, I think he does a great job here. But it's not the best episode, because for me, the best episode of Series 15 was Episode 3, The Well. Now, I was not expecting this to be a sequel or a follow-up to Midnight. I feel like I said at the time in my review of it that while I thought the episode was really good and really scary, had some really good points in there, I felt at the time that maybe Midnight was one of those stories that we should have just left well enough alone. Well, I don't know. Over the past few weeks, as the rest of the series has gone on, I do still think that, while I do still have kind of elements of that, I still think The Well is a brilliant story. It's got some really tight action, some really kind of claustrophobic scenes, and the addition of Rose Ellis here, I think she does a great job. I personally am still not that familiar with Rose Ellis as an actress. Like, I saw her when she was, I didn't know she was in the EastEnders, but I mainly knew her for being the champion of Strictly Come Dancing. But to me here, she proves that she can act so well, and as a person with an active disability, kind of the way that she acts with it, just kind of showing the fear of not being able to kind of hear what's coming, and with this creature behind her that nobody can see except for brief glimpses. I honestly felt that The Well was the best episode of Series 15. It was dark, it was horrifying, it was well acted, and they did a really good job with this episode. So there you go, there's my ranking of Series 15. The Well, Lux, The Story and the Engine, The Interstellar Song Contest, Wish World and the Reality War, The Robot Revolution, and Lucky Day. But what would be your ranking of Series 15? Let me know down below in the comments. Anyway, until next time, See ya.